With regard to what I said in my last video, I wanted to clarify that the reason why I was being seen by the mental health team at all, it was to do with depression and to do with anxiety and various other issues, PTSD, etc. It wasn't actually to do with OCD that I was originally under the mental health team. So, and that ties in with what I said last time, and I thought I'd make that clear because, as I said, I did have probably undiagnosed at the time. I certainly wasn't aware it was diagnosed. Undiagnosed mild OCD, which, as I said, by the time the SDR team had done with me, it was like a 10-week cause your OCD to be severe course of action, if you like. So it was like, it was a total nightmare. But I just wanted to clarify because it makes it sound as if, well, why if it was that mild and not even diagnosed, would you be in? And it didn't. I didn't really mention last time that there are other mental health issues. I've had suicide attempts in the past. I used to have eating disorders as well, but it wasn't really about that. I've had lots of different issues in the past, but yeah, it would have been about depression and anxiety that I was originally being seen at that time. So basically, they came and it's just like, oh, you need some help with tidying up. Oh yeah, and they were false pretenses because they were supposed to be helping me with, because some of the things where I wanted to know what's the correct way to clean different household items, like just advice on how to clean things. And my CPN just kept putting me off, and my mum didn't teach me properly. So there were just some things, but the CPN kept on getting my hopes up that this SDR team were going to come. Oh, the SDR team would deal with that. The SDR team would deal with that. So I wanted actual help to sort of know the correct way to clean various things, but all they did was they criticised me. As I say, they just went through everything. They disrupted everything. They were rude about me having clothes that they thought were too small for me. They literally went through everything. They turned it upside down so that all the clothes that, because I put on weight on the medications and I was sensitive about that, they couldn't have highlighted it more. And by the time they disrupted it, all the clothes that I couldn't really wear were then on the top. Um, and but and there was one point, Annie picked up this bra that I had, and she ridiculed the idea that I could ever have fitted into this bra. She literally ridiculed it. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, I'm not being funny, but I had a much better figure than the person who said that. If you want to really go into it, she was a much heavier person than me, so I don't know how she had the gall to. But it was appalling. They were ridiculing. Well, I don't think you'll be fitting into that again, Paula. I don't think you'll be fitting into that again, Paula. And this is for somebody with a history of eating disorders who's been I've been traumatized because I put on weight on venlafaxine, on carbimazole. They eventually got me on, which I definitely put on weight on. Venlafaxine was one of them. There were a couple of ones that I put on weight on, and they didn't like it said, but yeah, carbimazole, well, you would, because at one point I had a very slightly overactive thyroid, and I later found out that I didn't really need to have ever been put on it, and I put on a lot of weight on it. I lost a lot of confidence and things. There's an awful lot of things I went through that it's difficult to summarize it all, and it's all very, very confusing. But anyway, it ties in with the last video I made, and I'm just trying to get some of the information into a coherent form, which is very, very difficult, to be honest, very difficult, and it's been one hell of an experience. But yeah, so, but that the basic thing that I came back on to say was that yes, originally I was being treated for depression and anxiety, not for OCD at all. And yeah, so that's why, because I didn't think that was clear from the last video. I'll say I've had numerous suicide attempts and things like that. I've self-harmed at different times. There was some question of BPD traits at one point. PTSD, and I've also got, because I've got dyspraxia, I grew up with dyspraxia that was undiagnosed, and when I was 26 I read about it, and I saw that it fit, and I managed to get a diagnosis, but there wasn't any actual advice available. But I managed to get a diagnosis, so that means it covers it, which helps me to explain the coordination problems I've always had. But yeah, we were kind of the generation where they were recognising dyslexia, but not so much dyspraxia, so it was only just coming in. But my school reports from primary school, I remember some of them, and from secondary school, especially from primary school, I remember them literally, they as good as diagnosed it in that they described exactly what the problems were, and it was like a description of dyspraxia without actually calling it dyspraxia. So how they managed not to diagnose it, I don't know. And it was even suggested that it might have been diagnosed and that my mum was told, but I wasn't, which is possible because knowing her, she probably wouldn't have told me, to be honest. So I don't know. I really don't know. But anyway, yeah. So I had that growing up, and that tied in with a lot of, and that ties in a lot with the OCD. But anything that gets too complicated, of this tying in with this, tying in with this, they don't want to know. Like that ties in with, it's that much harder for me to deal with my periods when I've got endometriosis and PCOS, and it involves a lot of blood. It really does. And yeah, so it's just very difficult because the OCD and the dyspraxia then compound those problems as well. I've got agoraphobia at the moment. I've had agoraphobia for several years, and it's been from since 2020. I haven't gone out at all, like at all. Before that, I was getting to the dentist, and I was staying at my husband's flat that used to be my flat as well, where we lived together. But I was staying there at Christmas and some other times. But yeah, so I'm just here basically in this flat and being picked on by the housing association in various nasty ways. There's been so many problems with the drains, it's just unbelievable, and again ties in very well with OCD. Very, very triggering. They've been absolutely appalling with not dealing with things and hassling about other things. It's just been an absolute nightmare. That each thing would take a long time to explain. So yeah, basically this is ramble at this point, but it's quite difficult to explain. everything really. Anyway, so that's that for now. But yeah, okay.